Hey folks, welcome in the News 12 Now Desk. Thanks for joining us here on this Tuesday, May the 30th, right at 11 o'clock here on our Tuesday. Hopefully everybody's having a great day, had a great weekend. Hopefully we're able to enjoy the Memorial Day holiday if you had the day off or anything like that and took the chance to really remember what the day is about. So that's kind of what we're going to go over now, is talking about some of the events we were able to get out to and see how people were celebrating and memorializing those who sacrificed their lives for our country through their service in the armed forces. So real quick though, wanted to mention the YouTube channel. If you're not subscribed yet, let's show you how to do that real fast. If you come over here to YouTube and you just go to WRDW News 12 in your little search bar there, you'll see WRDW News 12. You can subscribe, you can watch us live right here. There's a little commercial, but we are live every day. We stream our top headlines, we stream our I-Team deep dives. If we're going through one of our bigger stories, we bring guests on, we talk about breaking news, we have press conferences that go on during the day. So we are live up here every day. So if you ever want to subscribe to the YouTube and kind of stay up to date with what's going on in the community, it's a great way to do it. But let's get to it right now. We are talking Memorial Day events from yesterday. We'll go ahead and play some stories, and then we'll just play some full interviews that we did while we were out there talking to people, and just kind of give you an idea, really take you there to these events. So we start off with the one we had here in Augusta. We remember and say thank you to all of those who paid the ultimate sacrifice. Hallie Turner talked to the man at the All Wars Monument who said once he heard the music play yesterday, he started getting emotional.
Monuments like the ones behind me tell a story of those who paid a price and remind us freedom is never free. On days like today, the soldiers who serve beside them are taken back to the uniform.
Takes me back to 1966 and 67 in Vietnam. We lost so many friends.
The sounds bring him back to one word, 7 letters, and 3 colors.
Freedom is indescribable. It's something that you earn. It's not given to you. And somebody had to pay a price for it.
Today he shows up for the friends and brothers that didn't return home with him.
Well, to lose someone unexpectedly, especially in combat, you never really forget it. It lingers on each and every day of your life.
Never forgetting what he and so many others went through.
And the pain and suffering that they go through, and some of them still go through. Our Disabled Veterans Organization, they deserve a lot more recognition.
And when we look at the American flag, we remember.
It is a symbol amongst others, but the symbol of what it means to live our life through the freedoms that have been granted to us.
And some of us are living out those freedoms right now as we speak, whether you're at the lake, cooking out, hanging out with friends and family. Today serves as a reminder that none of it would be possible without the heroes who gave their lives so we could be freely where we are today.
Hallie Turner reporting there, and again, we'll go ahead and play the full interviews now with Mr. Marion Gibson, who is the gentleman in the baseball hat you heard there. He is a Marine veteran, and then General Paul Stanton, who is the commanding general of the Cyber Center of Excellence at Fort Gordon. So we'll play those. Those will run about 10 minutes, and then we'll come back and talk about the next event.
Stanton, Paulstanton.
And then your official job title, how people general.
I'm the commanding general of the Cyber Center of Excellence in Fort Gordon.
And General Stanton, tell me about today. When you look around, you see the red, white, and blue, you see the veterans that come back, but you also see a lot of faces that aren't here.
Yeah, so unfortunately there are a lot of faces that aren't here, and that's what today's all about, is to make sure that we take pause, that we never forget, and we honor the sacrifices of soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines that have gone before us. But it's not just about today. It's about committing to living our lives based off of the liberties and freedoms that those that went before us have granted to us.
And when you hear the bagpipes, when you hear the rifles go off, what does that signify to you? You've served with people that didn't come back.
Yeah, it chokes me up, frankly, and I have to bite down real hard to make sure that I maintain my composure. because those bugle calls, listening to the bagpipes, seeing the flag wave in the background brings back a flood of memories. But again, we have to honor the sacrifices that were made. They made those sacrifices so that we can live our lives in freedom, so that we can have our barbecues later on this afternoon.
Do you remember that first time that you lost someone?
Yeah, unfortunately I do. It was an absolute crushing blow.
Where were you at the time?
Actually, I had personally just returned to the U.S. when Specialist Rel Ravago was ambushed in Mosul, Iraq, and we escorted his body back to Los Angeles and held a fallen soldier ceremony that I remember today like it was yesterday.
And you talked about that, put it into perspective. I think it's a different world that a lot of people back here don't understand. They don't get it. Okay, they see someone put their life on the front line. Okay, he's given his life for his country. They don't really understand that meaning. Can you kind of convey that to us?
Yeah, so very few Americans serve in uniform. And so therefore, there aren't very many people that are friends with those that are in uniform. So there are whole portions of our population that are disconnected with what our military does. And so opportunities like today to tell our story, to ensure that all Americans understand the sacrifices that are made is incredibly important.
How would you describe Memorial to you?
Yeah, so Memorial Day for me starts off with doing the Murph workout. So if you're familiar with it, I did my CrossFit Murph workout, and the whole time thinking about the soldiers that couldn't get up and do the Murph this morning, and that gave me some extra motivation. I really do enjoy coming down to a ceremony like this and connecting with some of the veterans in our community. They've all made sacrifices. They have all lost loved ones and friends and family, and so that common bond is critically important. But today we also had young soldiers that are during their initial entry training over on Fort Gordon. And so today we were able to combine the new and the old as one, and hopefully send an appropriate message to the rest of America about what it means to honor our sacrifices.
And what do you hope that these people that were sitting in these seats today, some of them have been through what you have been through. They maybe not, like you said, maybe not have stood for the Gold Star families, but
yeah.
What do you hope that those who haven't been in your shoes take away from today?
Yeah, so I hope that folks commit to living their lives through the liberties that they were offered through sacrifice. And that doesn't mean just stop and pause for a moment of silence at 3 p.m. local this afternoon, which I hope everyone does, but it is also, hey, what are you going to do with your life, recognizing that you have freedoms that the rest of the world can only wish for?
And when you look at the American flag, to wrap it all up, I asked a veteran earlier, when you look at the American flag, what does it mean to you?
Every single time that I watch the flag wave and listen to the national anthem, I get chills that run up and down my spine. It is a symbol amongst others, but the symbol of what it means to live our life through the freedoms that have been granted to us.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I appreciate
It's Marion Gibson, M-A-R-I-O-N, G-I-B-S-O-N.
And Mr. Gibson, when did you serve?
I served from October 1965 until January 1970.
And what were you a part of?
The United States Marine Corps.
Tell me what, to be a serviceman, a veteran, what does that mean to you?
It means that I did a lot for my country. I served in Vietnam as a airborne member, reconnaissance, scuba diver, demolition expert. I trained in Panama, Philippines, Okinawa, and it's really been a great experience.
Did you have any friends that you lost during your time of service?
Yes, I lost high school classmates, neighbors, and some family members.
What's it like when you put your life on the line and others don't come home with you?
It's an experience you don't want to imagine.
Can you kind of put into perspective for us, for some people that may not know?
Well, to lose someone unexpectedly, especially in combat, you never really forget it. It lingers on each and every day of your life.
Is there some people that you went in with? Do you have like a best friend in mind that you went in with that you didn't come back with?
Yes.
Can you kind of tell us about it?
Russell Williams, Herman McKinney, and also I had a lot of friends that came back, but they died later from combat injuries, combat related.
And so when you think of Memorial Day and you're honoring those soldiers and those servicemen that gave their lives and they didn't come back with you, kind of put that into perspective for us.
Yes, you want to remember them for the sacrifice that they made, you know, and for their family to know that they're not left alone in remembering them.
What's a lot of times, what do people forget about when we think of Memorial Day?
They forget about the true sacrifice.
Okay, can you talk more, elaborate for us on that? You know, many people think it's about the cookouts and the barbecues. You know?
Yes, but it's the bloodshed actually. Just to die, lay down your life for people that a lot of them don't even remember that.
And when you heard, you know, the bagpipes today in the firing of the rifles, what does that take you back to?
Takes me back to 1966 and 67 in Vietnam. We lost so many friends. Not only Marines, but Army, Navy, and Air Force.
So what is something that you wish people maybe understood or realized about Memorial Day as someone who has been on the front lines and has known people personally and lost some?
Okay. I want them to not only remember the ones that were killed and the ones that came back, but the ones that died for reasons related to all that, you know, and the pain and suffering that they go through, and some of them still go through. Our Disabled Veterans Organization, they deserve a lot more recognition.
When you wake up on Memorial Day, you know, still all these years later, how are your feelings when you wake up and you remember those lives? How would you describe that?
First of all, I thank God for me being able to come through all of that I've been through and to be here and to witness this for others.
And in your own words, how would you describe freedom?
Freedom is undescribable. It's something that you earn. It's not given to you. And somebody had to pay the price for it.
And when you looked in the back here, because I saw you sitting on that bench over there during the service, and you saw all those young men and women in uniform that have also taken the same oath that you did years ago, how does that make you feel to see that on this memorial?
It makes me feel great for the young people to step up and be a part of this country that we have preserved for them.
And when you wear your coat, you see the American flag. That's a brotherhood, a sisterhood, and a lot of people forget that we're a nation united under God. So it's kind of, you know, when you look around today, do you get chills? You know, I don't know, what's it like?
Camaraderie. Like, once a Marine, always a Marine.
Absolutely. Anything we didn't say or didn't ask that you think needs to be included?
No.
So again, hearing from Mr. Marion Gibson, Marine Corps veteran, as well as General Paul Stanton, who is the commanding general of the Cyber Center of Excellence at Fort Gordon. We appreciate those two taking some time to talk with us, and of course thank them for their service and their continuing to share that message and remembering those who did not make it back. Let's move on to our next one. That we were at the VFW Post 5877 held a tolling of the bells. It's to honor those who were lost at sea. As Nick Veland reports, it's one of the finest traditions in the Navy.
Well, today for a ceremony, it was all about United States submarine veterans coming together to honor those submarines lost at sea and those individuals who are now on eternal patrol. Bells tolling on repeat, echoing throughout. Each ding falls after the name of a U.S. submarine lost and the fate of the crew.
When they start reading the lost submarines, it becomes a little emotional, and it's a little difficult to ring the bell. Every peal of that bell, we were remembering not only the boat, but those who served on the boat.
Wayne Phillips feels the bells from the time he was serving and heard the USS Scorpion was lost and wouldn't be coming home.
It's a chilling experience knowing that many of my shipmates, 99 to be exact, were lost in a moment of time. Never returned. It was it gets you in your heart. It did me.
All gathered to honor the true meaning of Memorial Day.
This is the day that you remember those that died for you.
And every monthly meeting for the denizens of the deep, they hold a smaller ceremony to honor those submarines lost for that specific month. And they tell me that it's just as hard as the last. In Aiken, Nick Veland on your side.
Now we'll play the full sound from the folks that Nick spoke to out there. You got Greg McCollin, Chief of Boat Denizens of the Deep Aiken, and Wayne Phillips, who is Denizens of the Deep Aiken Commander. So we'll play that sound. It'll run about 15 or so minutes, and then we'll move to the next one.
Friday test? Okay.
And then when it comes to the Denizens of the Deep, what's your official title with them?
I'm the chief of the boat, have been for a while. I'm the guy that organizes everything, work parties and things like that. You know, we're basically, we are a veteran service organization, so we try to do good things in the community and for other veteran service organization members, let's put it that way. And we make our home here in Savannah River, VFW Post 5877.
And when it comes to your service, just talk about the time that you served and how long you served.
I served starting in basically December of 1967 through July 1976. I was lucky in the fact that I got chased into the Navy during the Vietnam War, did not want to get drafted, and subsequently was educated through the Naval Education System and the nuclear power program, which I didn't understand at the time, but I actually learned a living. So I was able to carry that forward and work at good jobs for most of my life. While in the Navy, I was an electrician's mate on the USS George Washington Carver, SSBN 656. I actually served on all three crews because we had a yard deployment, and completed 5 war deterrent patrols while I was on there. And it was a missile boat, so that's pretty much it, I guess.
And when it comes to today and Memorial Day, what's kind of on your mind in honoring those who have served and kind of your personal experiences with that?
When I was much younger, Memorial Day meant something. As I progressed through my life, I've seen it be completely diluted. The first day the pool's open, first day of summer. This is the day that you remember those that died for you. And that just keep it that simple, whether they be a veteran, civilian patriot like we had in 9/11. Remember the people that died so that you can be free. And we've lost it over the years. Hopefully it'll boomerang back a little bit. Today at 3 p.m., National Moment of Silence is supposed to be observed throughout the country. We will observe it here at the VFW post, and I hope everybody stops what they're doing at 3 o'clock. Stand silent, reflect, and remember those that died for you.
And when it comes to the submarine side of things, you guys hold near and dear the special ceremony. Can you guys talk on what the ceremony means to y'all?
Well, as we read up front. It's a tradition that was started by the submarine veterans of World War II, so that we do not forget our fallen submariners. And it's pretty well set up. We just follow their lead, and we will continue it on as long as we are a base. And every year at this time, we will hold the same ceremony. And if I'm not here, I will find a ceremony wherever I am, because I will attend.
And you being the one to ring the bell or toll the bells, what does that mean for you to honor every single submarine and boat that was, missing and lost?
Well, as you probably noticed, when they start reading the lost submarines, it becomes a little emotional, and it's a little difficult to ring the bell. But with every peal of that bell, we were remembering not only the boat, but those who were served on the boat. And that's an important thing.
Is there anything else you want to add that I didn't ask you about?
No, I think that about does it.
Knight, EDWIN, KNIGHT.
And what's your official kind of title with, which either of these organizations here?
Oh, I'm just a member of the Sub-Vets. I don't have anything else going on with that. I'm a member of a couple other organizations. Okay. I'm one of the very few Coast Guard people that you see around. There's 3 of us today, and that's pretty unusual at a program like this. Okay, not many of us around, but I did 8 Navy submarines and 15 years Coast Guard, small boat search and rescue. Okay, electronic technician. I learned how to run the reactor on a submarine. I did that for 17 years commercial, and that's where I've been. My wife was Navy. I just lost her in December, 57.5 years. My second boy was Coast Guard. My youngest boy did 20 Navy also. So 2 of our 4 kids were military. So we're kind of military family. But I love these guys. We all operated it. To me, the real submariners were the fellas that rode diesel boats. I mean, I was in a class 4 motel on our submarine. So these fellas that rode the diesel boats they went through hell. Okay. We had it easy, but 63 days, 200 feet, I did 8 of them, and I never regretted it. They taught me how to run a reactor. That's what I did commercially. So, but that's my story. But he's a lot of good fellas. We all served. Wife put up with me. Had 3 kids while I was at sea, and I worked commercial plants. Shift work, so my wife basically raised 4 children. Okay, but I just lost her. But that's my story. I'm sticking to it.
When it comes to Memorial Day and it's a day of honoring those who have served, can you just talk on what's been on your mind on today and kind of what Memorial Day is?
Now Veterans Day, people understand that. That is the day for veterans that came home. Memorial Day, I have a little hard spot with it because it really doesn't tell what it's about. Memorial Day is for all of those that did not come home. Okay, we honor everyone that gave their life so that we can, like today, we can be here talking and doing this, being free. Okay, and it's rough, and I was lucky. I wasn't in a foxhole. I had good place. I was underwater, didn't know what the temperature was, didn't know what the weather was doing, had 4 meals, clean sheets, So I picked the lesser. 1964 when I went in, told my mom I better go talk to a recruiter. I did. She said, not going to submarines? No, Mom, I'm not. Well, when I came home, she knew I did. 2 weeks later, opened the mailbox, and there was a draft notice. So I tell people I missed a foxhole by 2 weeks. Okay, I didn't want to get shot at. I wasn't a coward. I just picked what I wanted, and I got a good trade out of it. Okay, so.
And then this ceremony today, the tolling of the bells, and everything with this, just kind of talk on your time in a sub, and kind of what that ceremony means for you, just hearing the those bells?
Well, like I said, it just honors those that didn't make it back, that gave all for their country, okay? And it's quite a ceremony. I mean, you know, people don't understand they don't understand a lot what we went through, okay? And the sub-service was one of the smallest group of men, but we're probably one of the closest knit that we have, fellas that we're in, okay? It's a total different world than what everything else is, okay? So, and we operated all different ships, I mean, okay, so, where is he? Oh, that guy, Wayne. I didn't know him. He was on the same ship I was on for a couple years. I didn't know him back then because he was a torpedoman. I ran a reactor. And then we got out here and got involved with this thing, and I found out that, well, we went to one of our annual submarine convention, okay? And they were telling me where they were going, and I says, wait a minute. And that's when I met him, and then I got involved with here, and know that he was also on the Lafayette with me. So it's, you know, it's a big world, but it's a small world sometimes also, okay? So, anything else?
Phillips, W-A-Y-N-E, P-H-I-L-L-I-P-S.
And what's your kind of like official title with all of this?
Okay, I am the USSVI, and that stands for United States Submarine Veterans, Inc. Denizens of the Deep Base Commander. I'm also the USSVI Southeast Region, Georgia and South Carolina District Commander.
And then when it comes to your service, can you talk on how long you served and kind of what role you played?
Yeah, I joined the Navy Submarine Service in 1953. I enlisted in the Navy in 1966 when I turned 20. And I was assigned to the USS Lafayette, Fleet Ballistic Boat, SSBN 616, and served from 1968 to 1970. And was the end of my enlistment.
And when it comes to this ceremony today and Memorial Day, on a day like today, just kind of talk on what your thoughts are going through this day, being that you served and had interactions with many that are no longer here with us.
Yeah, I originally had an event while I was in 1968 when the USS Scorpion was lost, and it was for a submarine sailor, never having to even think about that. It was a chilling experience knowing that many of my shipmates, 99 to be exact, were lost in a moment of time. But we submariners have nobody to rely on. Unlike other forces, or other military forces, we can get backups. If a boat goes down, that's pretty much the end of it. There's been a few that have been recovered by diving bells, but when, like the Scorpion, when she went down, she was in excess of 10,000 feet of water, and that's deeper than any could have gone down, but the boat was crushed, so there's no possibility. So we have an extensive qualification program, and we have nobody to rely on other of us that have qualified. As we say in the submarine program, we've got your back, and that's true for all submarine sailors.
And then being a submarine soldier, losing 99, like you said, just like that, just kind of talk me through, your experience with that loss.
Well, understanding what submariners have to go through, and at the time I was not qualified. I was going through my qualifications, so I had a lot of experience in what I had to learn and who I had to rely on. When we were called in on that fateful day, our division officer came in and talked to us, and this happened all throughout the boat. of every division that they told us that the Scorpion was overdue and presumed lost. And it was sometime after that, several weeks before they finally declared that the boat was totally lost, that it would never return. It was it gets you in your heart. It did me.
And you know, hearing that bell years later, just talk me through. You know, there's that vessel as well. Is there any other vessel that you hold near and dear to your heart, and kind of talk me through? You know, when you hear the Scorpion name get called and the bell rung, what's your thought process when you're hearing that?
Every time I hear the toll, the bell toll, I know that it's for one of our shipmates or one of our submarines. The Navy has the Surface Navy has its own tradition of this ceremony as well, and it happens. It means the same for them as it does for us, and other services have the same memorial service. We don't take away from all the other militaries. Memorial Day is for every veteran every person that gave their life toward the service of their country. It's for them and for the families. It's a day of remembrance.
And then kind of with this ceremony, for submariners like yourselves to come together and kind of celebrate this, or not really celebrate, but honor this day for those, those that got missing at sea. What's that feeling of, being with other members of an organization here for this ceremony?
Well, we have monthly meetings. Our organization meets here at VFW Post 5877 in Aiken on a monthly basis, and we go through this, not the entire ceremony, we do the boats that are lost for that month, and we do this every month, and we it never hardens your heart doing it, because it means the same every time.
All right, is there anything else you want to add that I didn't ask you about?
No, I thank you for coming out.
There we go. Always, it's great to hear those veterans' stories and just hear them kind of talk about what this means to them, what that day means to them, and honoring the people that have not made it back. So we do appreciate all of them for talking to us and all of the sacrifices that they have done over the years. So let's continue on here. More than 50,000 veterans call Augusta home, but the closest veteran cemetery is in Milledgeville. A plan to bring a cemetery here to Augusta has been in the works for almost 2 decades. Our Laura Warren tells us it's now in the hands of the VA in Washington.
Yeah, it's, I just hope I live long enough to see it, because I'd like to be buried there.
Former Augusta Mayor Bob Young is also a Vietnam veteran, and he's been pushing for a veterans cemetery in Augusta for close to 2 decades.
If God wants it to happen, it's going to happen, and I hope he's on our side.
Augusta has set aside money to help with the access road and the demolition. The state has put the $1 million down payment in the budget that goes into effect this July. But many existing veteran cemeteries need additions in the state as they fill up. And those projects keep rising higher on the priority list, bumping this new cemetery out of the running.
We're number, as I recall it, we're like number 8 or 9 on the priority list for new cemeteries. And to get down to us, the budget would have to be $100 million this year. And it's just not there.
The budget is only about half of that, but they say now is the time. Don't let your elected leaders forget you care about this project.
The state has already told us that this cemetery will bury more than 700 veterans a year and far outpace the combined burials in Milledgeville and Glenville, the other 2 state cemeteries. So the need for it is here, the desire to have it is here, the facilities to establish it are here.
So applications for the next budget year at the federal level are due July 1st. So they'll renew the application then and see where the VA puts them on the priority list. But now we will play the full interview from former Mayor Bob Young, a veteran in his own right.
Is that good? Is that loud?
That's
okay.
Perfect.
All right.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
And you can look at me for the rest of it.
All right.
Okay, so remind me when you kind of like started this whole push to create this here in Augusta.
Well, we initially started about 20 years ago working on this, and it got a new breath of life with the support of the City Commission in 2019. So we've had a real accelerated effort over the last 4 years to try to make this happen.
4 years though, I mean, is it kind of just like, are we done waiting? Like, are we just ready for it to be done?
Well, there are two things that work against us. And when I say us, I mean the state of Georgia. This will be a state cemetery. It's a state application to the VA for a construction grant. I mean, we're just the host community. But the two things that are working against us right now are the amount of money in the budget for the state cemetery grant program. It's just not enough to get down to us on the priority list. And then the other thing working against us is where we are on the priority list. And we've gotten some relatively good news in the last few weeks from Congressman Allen's office. They've been working with the VA committee in the House, and they've been able to bump up the grant fund about 20% for the next year's budget. But still, it doesn't get to us. And so they're working now trying to enhance our position on the priority list and see if they can move us up. In the meantime, Senator Ossoff's office is very aggressively working this over on the Senate side. So, you know, politically we're doing what the community needs to do, but the final decision rests with the Veterans Administration and whether or not the state of Georgia will get a construction grant of about $10 million to build the Veterans Cemetery in Augusta out at Gracewood. And we still have on the table the in-kind contribution from the city, which includes the access road and assisting the state with demolition. And the $1 million down payment that the state's required to put up is in the budget that takes effect July 1st. So everything has been done that needs to be done in Georgia and in Augusta. It's all in the hands of the VA in Washington.
When do you kind of expect that to get the ball rolling, or are you just kind of like waiting day by day to see where this list kind of goes?
Well, the applications for the next budget year at the federal government are due July 1st, and certainly we'll renew the application. The state will renew the application for another year. And then the VA will put out a new priority list, and we'll see how far the money goes and see if we've done enough to position ourselves to be in the right place when the federal budget takes effect on October 1st of this year.
I'm sure you've answered this question a million times, but does it, I mean, I guess if you could put it in your own words, like why here, I guess, you know, I'm sure everybody kind of already has an idea because yes, we are a veteran hotspot, but.
Well, the whole idea of having the cemetery in Augusta is a matter of convenience for the families of those veterans who would be buried in the cemetery, that they don't have to drive to Columbia, to the cemetery at Fort Jackson, or to Milledgeville, where the state cemetery is, or up to Canton, Georgia, or wherever to visit their loved one at appropriate times and have moments of reflection at their gravesite. With more than 60,000 military veterans living in the greater Augusta area, the state has already told us that this cemetery will bury more than 700 veterans a year and far outpace the combined burials in Milledgeville and Glenville, the other two state cemeteries. So the need for it is here, the desire to have it is here, the facilities to establish it are here, the will of the community is far and above what you would expect to support this. And so why not? Why not Augusta?
Why do you keep putting your name down on this proposal, I guess, or just a renew application? I mean, it's been 4 years, you've been working towards it for a lot longer than that, but you know, what's it mean to you?
Yeah, it's, you know, I just hope I live long enough to see it. because I'd like to be buried there. It just means a lot to me because I think when you look at Augusta as a community for military retirees and former service members, we've got all the amenities that you could ask for. We've got the VA facilities here, you've got the commissary, the PX, other facilities at Fort Gordon that are available. Everything is here except the final resting place, and that's what we're trying to provide, so that a veteran has another incentive to stay in Augusta or relocate to Augusta for their retirement.
Have they told you where you are at on the priority list for this?
Yes, we've seen the priority list, and we're way down. If you took all the money that's in the budget this year, which is $50 million, and went down the priority list, what's ahead of us are a number of cemeteries that need expansions because they're filling up. And so they've got to make more room. One of them is Milledgeville. And so the money that's in the budget now will take care of the expansions, but there's not enough to cover new cemeteries. And we're number, as I recall it, we're like number 8 or 9 on the priority list for new cemeteries. And to get down to us, the budget would have to be $100 million this year. And it's just not there. So,
when it comes to even just veteran cemeteries, it being Memorial Day, what do you hope people who might be watching this kind of take away from this?
Number one, I would hope that they would continue their support for the cemetery. It's been a struggle, and it's a fight that people across this community are doing. You don't see it every day in the news, but we're working behind the scenes every day trying to make this happen. So we're saying don't give up on us. If you have any connections with the VA or with members of Congress, with senators, or President Biden, please let your voice be heard. Now is the time. All hands on deck. You know, if God wants it to happen, it's going to happen, and I hope He's on our side.
All right. Anything else?
No.
All right.
So there you go, former Mayor Bob Young there, trying to get a push for a veteran cemetery here in Augusta. Again, 50,000 veterans call Augusta home, and the closest veteran cemetery is Milledgeville. So we'll have to see again how it all shakes out. Let me pull up, I don't remember the exact day, it was July 1st, I think. Yeah, applications for the next budget year are due July 1st, so we'll have a little bit more information on kind of where Augusta stands after that's all done. A couple more events and stories that we don't have the full interviews on, but still wanted to go ahead and play these little recap pieces. Would be young and old gathered at Wade Hampton Park in North Augusta to show their respect for the fallen. Our Craig Allison was there.
North Augusta's American Legion 71, this group's legacy goes all the way back to the founding of the American Legion itself in 1919. One of its original founders, Commander Jesse Lynch, also founded North Augusta's Legion 71. Today, veterans of multiple generations and wars heard the story of one of Commander Lynch's fellow founders who lost their son to World War II.
It was cold and it was far away from home. And they knew they were in the crosshairs of a war-seasoned German tank unit. He took part in guerrilla warfare, inflicting a heavy cost on the enemy at the expense of his own life.
His name was Lieutenant Eric Fisher Jr. Stories like his are why his father, General Eric Fisher Wood, helped found the Legion after World War I, not only to remember those who have gone, but to support those who still remember.
Sing to the mansions of the Lord.
From songs to Leith Rangs, they also took time to read those the Legion had lost in the past year.
Frank M. Connolly, John Overstreet, Floyd T. Johnson.
The service and sacrifice of those we remember and honor today still inspire each of us. They served America in time of peace and war, yielding their last full measure of devotion so that justice, freedom, and democracy might survive.
And it wasn't just here in Augusta, across the state, across the two-state, across the country, we saw celebrations as well. See if I can find, here it is. A man walking across the country for wounded veterans made a stop in Georgia. Anthony Bordenaro has that story.
Jack Huffman estimates that he will walk 3 million steps through his journey from Florida to Michigan. I caught up with Huffman as he was nearing Cordele. So this is day 13 for Jack. What's your motivation through all this?
Just wanting to support our veterans, and I'm on my way to the Salute Our Warriors event in Rochester Hills, Michigan. It's on July 13th, and I'll be there at 6 o'clock sharp.
One step at a time?
One step at a time.
The journey is more than just about supporting veterans for Huffman. For him, it's about continuing to inspire young people. The journey started for him at the dinner table at Thanksgiving in 2017. At that point, he said he was drinking, eating, and smoking too much.
Something just clicked. And I started walking, I started eating right, and within, I think, 90 days, I lost about 50 pounds.
In Tifton, he was gifted a free pair of shoes by Tifton's best runner. Owner of the store, Don Borowski, says he's taking advantage of Jack to inspire kids in the county to do more.
A great, fantastic running community. And it's just not running, it's walking, it's run walking. It's just getting out there and becoming active.
You can track Jack through his Facebook, Jack Walks. He is on a fitness journey as he's logging 30 miles and nearly 60,000 steps per day. He's also burning nearly 5,000 calories per day. He still has 1,000 more miles to go.
I just with my son. I'll be jumping in the pond with him when I make it to the event, and I'm just looking forward to spending some time with him.
You can donate to his cause. I'll provide the link to do so on our website.
Inspire our communities to get up and get moving. Chase our dreams a little bit. A lot of us get stuck where we're at. And
Anthony Bornaro, WALB.
So there you go. That was a guy walking 1,500 miles, Florida up to Michigan, to raise awareness and money for wounded veterans. Across the river, a South Carolina veteran is hoping to encourage others to take advantage of a new Veterans Affairs program in the state. Andrew Fancher has more. If I can find it. There it is.
So it's something that I take to heart. It's something that I valor, being able to say I was an American soldier.
Gabriel Trujillo's commitment to America began in his home country of Colombia, when narco-terrorism pushed the Medellin native into joining the National Army. As a bilingual soldier, he recalls working alongside the DEA in their efforts to weaken the Medellin cartel and take down Colombian drug lord Pablo Escobar.
This is '89, when the guerrillas are still very active. I was shot at, I shoot people back. Don't know what happened after that. So it wasn't a pleasant time, but it was something that I feel was my duty at the time to do.
Trujillo says he met Escobar on 3 separate occasions before retiring from the National Army as a second lieutenant. He moved to the U.S. on a student visa in 1990 and swiftly joined the U.S. military at age 26.
So going into the Army was a personal choice. Wearing an American flag on my shoulder was one of the biggest honors I can even be invested on it.
Shortly after gaining his citizenship in 2000, 2 airplanes struck the World Trade Center, prompting his immediate deployment overseas. With 8 soldiers under him, the weapons squad leader for the 82nd Airborne spent his first tour overseas in Kandahar, Afghanistan, completing 12 combat missions outside the wire.
We had tents. We had to fill up sandbags and put those around our tents just to protect ourselves from mortar attacks, from rocket attacks. We had to do that all the time. We had alarms blaring in the middle of the night that we had rockets coming into the base.
After 8 months of fighting al-Qaeda and the Taliban, the 82nd was deployed to central Iraq for what he described as 6 monotonous months.
It wasn't one of those things that time flies. It was very slow going. Every day coming out the wire, you didn't know if that was your last day. So we live one more day just to do it again the next day or the next night. That's how we live day by day.
Not including daily patrols, Trujillo served 19 missions outside the wire during his 6 months in country. 18 years and 1 career later, the former drill sergeant works for the SC Department of Veteran Affairs, the newest department in state government, whose main prerogative is reducing veteran suicides in South Carolina.
And it's not as much as telling war stories. It's actually about your feelings, how you feel inside, how you're coping.
The human-to-human based program relies on 180 peers across the state whose primary goal is to supply, connect, and support veterans seeking their help.
They can guide you to resources. They can get the help that you seek. Even when you don't want to ask for help, they can get that to you because they know by talking to you, you need something. You have a need that needs to be fulfilled. So reach out to us.
How about a little national story here as well to talk about? As we honor those who sacrificed so much for the country, a very special reunion of Vietnam POWs, a half century after they were welcomed home at the Nixon White House. Survivors were honored again at the Nixon Library. Here's Hallie Jackson.
Dinner for 400 in Southern California, and if the guests, the menu, and the centerpieces look familiar, that's because they are. In 1973, President Nixon hosted nearly 600 Vietnam POWs just a few months after the deal that let them return home.
You're the best we have.
The star-studded dinner said to be the biggest in White House history. Now, 50 years later, replicated at the Nixon Library, a reunion for those who sacrificed so much.
You think you're invincible initially, and that you can take all kinds of pain, but pain just completely consumes you.
Admiral Robert Shoemaker was captured by the Vietnamese, spending 8 years in the notorious Hoa Lo prison, although he came up with another name for it in a note he scribbled on toilet paper to a fellow American.
I was trying to cheer the guy up by simply saying, "Welcome to the Hanoi Hilton."
Lieutenant Porter Halliburton was held there too for a while. When his plane was shot down in 1965, his family thought he was dead, even had a tombstone made.
Then a year and a half later, they came in and they said, you know what, we have something to tell you. And Marty said, "You're here to tell me my husband's alive." She said that was more difficult to deal with than my death because of the uncertainty.
He returned to the U.S. in 1973, as did Shoemaker, welcomed home by his wife and son, who'd been born just a few weeks before his dad left for war. What was that like?
She prepared her son, who was a really competitive little kid, by asking him, "Well, how are you going to greet your father, you know?" And he kind of shrugged his shoulders. And I'm sorry, I get choked up.
Yeah.
And he didn't say a thing, but anyway, he beat her to me.
The two reuniting with other POWs,
We were a family over there.
sharing their stories with a generation for whom Vietnam is distant history.
If our stories can be inspirational to young people that, you know, freedom isn't free.
A legacy of service and sacrifice that lives on. Hallie Jackson, NBC News.
So there you go, folks. That's going to do it for our Memorial Day recap here. Hopefully we're able to take a minute and reflect and kind of honor those who served and sacrificed their lives for our country and for our freedom. Because, you know, thank yous are never quite enough, but hopefully they do realize how appreciative we are. So appreciate you guys tuning in. That's going to take us right up to midday. Got about 7 minutes to hit over the TV side of things. I'll see you back here tomorrow morning for what's going to be Wednesday's top headline. So have a good one.